Steve Skipper. I'm an artist.
Okay. What I found interesting a minute ago, you said you changed from being a gang member and now you have this huge honor. Tell me a little bit about where you've come from.
Well, from Rosedale, Alabama, 1976 was when I became a Christian. Entered into a gang at age 13, and notorious gang, and a whole lot of bad stuff involved in that. But I met a pastor. At first, there was a bold young man by the name of Mike Mitchell who had, told me I needed to be saved. And he approached me at a time when it wasn't wise to approach him, but he didn't care. And I thank God he didn't care. And he on a dare, he got me to go to church with him one night. And I thought that I was going to go into church and stay 15 minutes, and come back out and do what I was doing. But God's plan was for me to go into church and stay 48 years. So, and I ended up coming out of the gang that I was in called the Crips. And the Lord taught me artwork. Instead of using guns, he gave me paintbrushes. And so there's nobody that can teach creativity better than the Creator. So he started teaching me stuff, and then I was at Homewood High School. I remember my senior year, the guidance counselor was telling me, "I got some great news for you. You got 3 scholarship offers. You got 2 in football, and you got 1 in fine art." And so the fine art scholarship was at Florida State University, and I'd be the first person in my family to go to college.
Wow.
Which is going to make my mom extremely happy.
Right. Yeah.
And I hear the Lord whisper in my ear, "You're not going to need to take these scholarships. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about art."
Really?
And I heard it just as clear as I'm talking to you. And I told the counselor, and she said, "You know how this is going to go with your mom?" And I said, "Yeah, it's going to be World War 50. And so she went ballistic, and she spent a lot of time after I graduated, a lot of time telling me the same thing over and over again: get a real job. I could have had a T-shirt that said "get a real job," because I struggle, artists struggle. And so I remember the first time that I sold a painting to Derek Thomas, football player that played at Alabama. Sold a painting to Derek Thomas for $10,000. And I showed the check to my mom, and she said, "You got a real job." and so Bobby Humphrey bought a painting for $12,000, and it just started from there.
Awesome.
And so before she died, she told me, "You got a real job, and those people that are dependent on you, don't let them down." And she said, "Go and finish what you're doing," and I've been going ever since.
That's awesome. What a story. So how did this relationship with the Royals begin?
Well, I did a painting celebrating the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday in Selma, and got a chance to meet C.T. Vivian, Congressman John Lewis, Joseph Lowry, Reverend Joseph Lowry. And I had already had a relationship with Ambassador Andrew Young. And God told me that reproduce the painting and these 4 men are going to sign the artist proofs. Never been done before. After Dr. King passed away, they were like, separated. So they didn't do anything. And so I told the president of the SCLC, "This is what I wanted to do." He said, "It never happened. You'll never be able to do that." But when God tells you something's going to happen, it's going to happen. So we ended up doing the painting. Ended up all 4 signed the artist proofs. And the first one went to the Presidential Library of Lyndon Baines Johnson at the request of his daughter.
Okay.
And so the relationship between Ambassador Young and I grew. So there were some government officials in the Bahamas that commissioned me to do a painting of the scene where Dr. King went to the Bahamas to write his Nobel Peace Prize speech. They wanted me to come over and do a painting of the scene. Went over there, shot some pictures and stuff, came back, did the painting. Ambassador Young went with me over to the Bahamas to unveil it. We unveiled a painting over there. And we got closer because of that one, because that really got him, because he remembered when Dr. King went there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people don't know that he went there. And so meeting with the governmental officials and a lot of the Bahamian people and finding out what we had in common, the Bahamian people used to be in slavery. And one thing I didn't know about slavery, I thought that slavery was just people going to Africa, bringing slaves back to America, because that's all we were taught and told. But I didn't know that there were slaves that were brought not only to America, but to the Bahamas, Jamaica, and everywhere else. And so I got a chance to meet some of those people in the Bahamas as we got to talking. And so Ambassador Young saw that. He knew about all this stuff, and he saw that, and so he was fascinated with it. So he started to teach me some stuff. And see, it's the first time I ever went to a foreign country. So he started to teach me stuff about diplomacy, and I never heard the word. And so he said, I'm going to teach you how to do business with a foreign government, and this is what you do, because when you went to the Bahamas, you didn't do it right. And so when I went to the Bahamas, I was just happy to take a picture with whoever.
Sure.
And that's the cool thing, to take a picture with them and come back and say you took. No, he said, no, we're going to do business. If they ask you to come to the country, that means that you have something that they want. So you got to get used to asking for, and God's blessed you to the point to where you're going to meet prime ministers and you're going to meet these people, so you got to know what to say. You can't be overwhelmed. You got to be able to ask for a certain thing. And I was that was just, I wasn't used to that. And so he started just like teaching me stuff, and he was just like so interested in what I was doing and stuff, and he would take me different places with him. And then he commissioned me to do the official commemorative painting of his life. And we started going different places, unveiling the painting and everything, and I had no idea that God was using him to teach me and get me prepared for now. And that was 3 years ago he started doing this stuff. And so he started inviting me to his home, and he started teaching me diplomacy, protocol, stuff like this for different countries and stuff. And so he had a friend by the name of Rodney Cook. Rodney Cook is the owner of Millennium Gate Museum and the National Monuments Foundation. And Rodney Cook and we became close friends. And, he and Ambassador behind the scenes talking, teach him this and this and this and this. And so he started teaching me stuff. And then I found out that he was best friends with then Prince Charles. And so Prince Charles was interested in the painting that I had done of Dr. King in the Bahamas. He wanted a print reproduction of it. So he went over and talked to him about it and everything, and he started telling me about the procedure and how if you go over and you start talking to him about something and he says more, or either he'll do like this, and that means the conversation is over. And so he kept saying more about this artist from Birmingham. And so they began to talk. And then one day he asked me, he said, how would you be interested in doing a painting of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth? And I said, I'm thinking, are you kidding? Yes, I'll be interested in. But I think he's joking. I'm not really thinking he's serious. And I've learned Rodney Cook doesn't joke about nothing. So whenever he says anything, no matter what it is, he's serious. And so I said, yeah. And he said, think about how you want to do it. And so I love horses. And then I
Yes.
found out that she loves horses.
Yes.
And so I found a photograph of her with one of her horses, and there was a lady in the background. I didn't know who the lady was, but she seemed close to the queen. And so I showed him the photograph, and he said, "Oh, that'll be great." And so he said, "How soon can you do a preliminary drawing?" And I said, "Well, as soon as I can." And he said, "Go ahead, start right now." And within that time, Her Majesty passes away,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's time for coronation of the king. He's fixing to become king. And so Rodney Cook has an invitation to the coronation. So he said, "You're finished with the drawing. I want to take the drawing over with me and show it to him." And I said, "Are you kidding?" He said, "Are you finished with the drawing?" I said, "Yes, I'm finished." He said, "Bring it to Atlanta, bring it to me." And I took the drawing to him, found out that the lady that was standing behind the queen was Princess Anne, her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And took it over. He loved it. Showed it to the people in the palace. They loved it. And so he called me one day and said, "Are you working on the painting of the queen yet?" I said, "I was waiting on you to say when." He said, "When? Now." And I said, "Okay, we'll start working on it." And start working on the painting. This is the funny part right here. I'm working on the painting, and the Iron Bowl is on TV. I'm watching, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nick Saban's, nobody knows it's his final Iron Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But Jalen Miro orchestrates this drive in dramatic, super dramatic form. They win the Iron Bowl. He makes this great pass, and they win the Iron Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
My phone starts going crazy. I'm working on the painting of the queen. And my phone starts going crazy, and collectors are asking me, "Are you going to do a painting of Jalen? Are you going to do a painting of the pass?" And I'm talking about going crazy. Calls was like,
Yeah.
and I said, Alabama football's in my blood.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing this for years. That's how I got here. And so, yeah, I'm going to do a painting. And so for the first time probably in history, an artist is working on a painting of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
And he pauses the painting. And the British people are asking, you know, how soon are you going to be finished, and why are you delayed or whatever? And I had to explain, there's a thing called Alabama football. and they're saying, what is that? You know. And so I finished Jalen's painting, and then I had to get back on it, and then everything just goes crazy.
Wow.
And so
You're pretty busy.
yeah, and then they start telling me that you do know that you're the first African American to ever be commissioned by Buckingham Palace, and your painting is going to be a part of the Royal Collection. This is the first time it's ever happened in history. And so I'm already nervous. Why do you tell me this?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm happy, I'm nervous, and Rodney Cook starts calling me and telling me, "Do you know what this means?" You know, it's going to be probably 5 years before they stop talking about what you did. And what we're trying to do is, like Ambassador Young, I set this up so you can have a relationship with Buckingham Palace, so the next paintings that you do is of His Majesty the King. And so I'm like, shocked beyond, you know. And then somebody asked me, "Well, Coach Saban is retired. Are you going to do something on him?" And Coach Saban is not just Coach Saban, the football coach. When he first got there, I met him, and I remember saying to him, "I'd like to do a painting of you." And he just got in there. He said, "Let me give you something to paint."
Oh.
And so, I mean, he's a different kind of guy. I mean, you think that he's the guy that you see ranting and raving on the field and all that kind of. He's nothing like that personally. You know, he's the coolest guy very calm, and he's so calm and so cool, it throws you. Because when you first meet him, he kind of knows that it throws you. He'll walk out of the room and he'll come back, just to give you time to, realize that this is the way I really am. And so he sent me to his agent in Memphis, Jimmy Sexton, and Joe Namath's agent, Mike Bite. He went with me.
Oh.
And so we talked and everything, and during this span of time, Alabama won the first national championship under Saban. And he said, I told you I'd give you something to paint. And so we cut a deal, with them to do, and he endorsed it and gave me a written endorsement about my artwork and everything. And he realized that there was a lot of red tape and stuff that I was facing, in Tuscaloosa and stuff. Yeah. And he put his foot down for me. But that written endorsement, he had never done that for nobody, and no artist ever. In 17 years he was down there, never. Wow. He just did it for me, and I appreciated it so much, and the doors that he opened for me. And so I kind of, get ready to do the preliminary drawing on his painting. What's coming for me?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that can be so much red tape. Do you need to deal with that?
That's okay.
Okay.
The batteries don't last long on this.
Okay.
I'm just glad it made it through a stopping point.
He's our king in this state. It's like out. He's so big here. But so when you started the painting, what was going through your mind?
The painting of the Queen. Real good question.
Or do you get into a zone, like, maybe you don't think, maybe it's more...
No, as artists, you have to be real careful when you're painting somebody iconic. And a lot of artists get caught up in the iconic part, and the image of the person ends up not looking like them. Because you don't just want image, you want likeness.
Yeah.
That's how God created us, in his image and his likeness. Likeness is who you are. Likeness is when your child sees a painting of you and they don't just see Brenda, they see Mom.
Yes.
And to capture that, it takes something special. So with her, it was different because she didn't smile that much. She recognized her regal and her purpose, and she carried that very well. She didn't walk around with a frown on her face, but it's just a serious look. But that picture that I chose to do, there's a Royal Ascot horse race in England every year. I think they just finished the one. In 2013, her horse, she's always had horses in the race, but after the race, she ends up giving the trophy to somebody else. It was her job to present the trophy. 2013, her horse, Estimate, wins the race. So she's happy. And she has this faint smile that people that know her, they know that smile. And to capture that with your hand, you gotta be real careful. And so the photograph was so detailed, and I chose it for that reason, but I love horses. And I had some unfinished business that I wanted to do at the Kentucky Derby in Kentucky. And so she used to come there all the time. And so that was one of the reasons I chose that picture. But in the photograph, it had 4 stages of depth of field. People that was in the crowd, there's a tree in far background, and then her daughter, and then her, and then the horse. and so you have to be real careful about proportions on all this stuff. And with her being so small of a lady, and then the horse is so big,
Right.
but and then her attention to detail about the way she dressed.
Yeah.
Everything custom made. Her hats were elaborate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wasn't gaudy like you at the Kentucky Derby, but very, very nice. And on that day, she was wearing a straw hat.
Okay.
So the sky was real bright.
Yeah.
But straw hats have these little holes in them. And I'm talking about there's millions of those holes.
Right.
And then along with the hole, whoever makes the straw hat, the straw kind of, you know.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about a whole hat.
Oh, wow.
And then there's a big bow that she used to have on her hat. And then there's a small flower arrangement. But then her hair, and you're thinking, man, you can't mess up nothing. So what I'm praying, instead of seeing her as a queen, I'm asking God to show me her as his child.
Oh, nice.
And let me just do your child. And he's talking to me and telling me every step to make about how to paint this painting. And out of all the paintings I've done all these paintings for 40-something years.
Yeah.
And he's taught me everything. He's taken me to a different level on this one. And he's telling me stuff that I've never heard him say before. And I've never heard him say it, and I can't understand it with my mind, but I've learned to do what he says. And every time he says, do something, mix the paint like this, and use this chemical to make this, and because you're using oil paint, and you're using different chemicals to break it down to make it look real, in different stages of realness. And so he's telling me, use this brush. And so we have all these different holes, so in the hat and stuff like that, and all this intricate detail, so it's a lot of small brushes. There's no big stuff. And so you're looking like this, and it's tip of the end of the brush is like a needle.
How long?
And I can see the hairs on the brush that they separate. And he'll say, turn your finger like this.
Really?
You know,
God,
and the hairs come back together.
God leads
And
you.
We're talking about 1,500 hours.
I was going to say, how long? 1,500 hours.
Because, her pearls and everything.
Yes.
When you do the pearls are like all these different abstract paintings because the light is shining on the pearls in a different way.
Right.
So all those abstract paintings, and when you do them together, they look like real pearl.
Ah.
And so her clothing, like, it was like, she had on this lavender outfit, raw silk. And anybody that knows raw silk, the material, the fabric itself, it's got all kind of movement in it.
Wow.
And then, but the most elaborate outfit was her daughter, Princess Anne.
Was it?
She had on a hat too. And then, but her outfit was super elaborate in detail and design.
Yeah.
And so you got to get all this stuff right. And so it's not just the detail and design; it's the depth. She's behind her mom, so you have to have that depth. Now you got to go to the horse.
Ah.
And it's one thing about doing a horse, and I've done horses.
Yeah.
But horses after a race, he's sweating. So the sweat is going to affect his hair.
Yeah.
He's a brown horse, but the lighting of the sky and reflected on the sweat and the horse itself, because you can't be a painting of a horse, it's got to be that horse. And just like your likeness, his likeness. And so the horse handlers, and when the British Consulate General, when she first saw the painting the first time, that's estimate. That's what we want.
That's awesome. How do you describe how you're feeling now? You've been prepared for a time such as this. How does it make you feel?
I can't describe it because I'm not halfway over it, and I don't know if I ever will be.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering how the carryover will affect Coach Saban's painting, because And then with the stuff that we got to do, next week by going down and the painting is officially transferred into the Royal Collection, and they're doing a celebration, celebrating me at the consulate's office, and then the painting goes. And from what I hear, the consulate has been lobbying Buckingham Palace to let her keep the painting in her office. She loves it there so much.
Wow.
And I think they're gonna allow. But one thing they allowed me to do, they allowed me to retain the reproduction rights of the painting.
Wonderful.
And most artists don't. Most artists are carried away so much with the opportunity, which this is going to affect every piece of artwork that you do, the value, appreciation, and everything.
Right.
But I got so many people that want to see it and would want limited edition prints of it.
Sure.
And so they allowed us to retain that, and I'm real happy about that.
That's awesome. So tell me again about Monday. Walk me through what's going to happen Monday.
Well, Monday is the second time we unveiled the painting for the first time in Savannah. They had some big celebration, anniversary thing, the British people, and they wanted me to unveil the painting there. And all this, everything we do comes from Buckingham Palace. They send word to the consulate. The consulate represents, that country. And so in Atlanta, you got consulates from every country that's in Atlanta, in New York and Washington. And I didn't know that until now. And so what they're going to do is celebrate me for doing the painting, honor me. And then the painting actually is handed over physically and transferred into the Royal Collection from there. And so I'm always one of the, I think it's probably 700 paintings that's been done of her. But this is the first time that an African American has done one that's going into the, so that's another thing that's really getting to me. But after that, we go to Millennium Gate Museum with Rodney Cook, and they have a reception for me. And then some media people are going to be there. And
Okay.
here we go again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, God's made the path straight, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's all Him.
Oh, yeah. Every bit him. And it's amazing how you think you know him, and it gets better. It never gets worse.
Yeah.
But it always gets better. And right when you think it can't get any better, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me, and this is my testimony, and I'll tell it the rest of my life that he's the best thing that ever happened to me, and he gets better. He does something that's exceedingly abundantly above that which you ask or think. That's real. I mean, I never asked for this. I was satisfied with this. You know.
Maybe sending a message to future generations and using your story?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that, for one, a lot of kids are told that you can't make a living doing this, you know. And they're told what my mom told me, get a real job, you know.
Yeah.
And through the struggle of trying to find your place in the fine art world,
Right.
a lot of people fall off, and they ended up, there's a lot of great artists, employee of the month of some corporation, you know, and I don't want to see that. I believe that a lot of the crime we see now are young people who doesn't have the expression of creativity, so they act out in a different way. And so I want to give them that avenue, and also kill the stereotype from parents and other people that you can't make a living doing this. Oh, yes, you can. You can not only make a living, you can make a difference.
Awesome. Wow. That's so powerful.